or good afternoon to everybody, depending on where you are in the world. This is David Bernstein from JobSync. Appreciate you taking the time today to learn more about the JobSync platform. By way of some introductions, I lead our partnership and industry relations work here at JobSync, and I'm a long-time talent acquisition and HR technology fan. I'll tell you that I started my career here in the HR arena 25 years ago, working in a company called PeopleSoft. Some of you may have heard. So I was working in the HR department at an HR technology company, and we used our own products to drive our HR activities. And it's been a long journey, but ever since, I've long been passionate about the intersection of leveraging technology to drive HR business outcomes. And so it's my pleasure today to kind of share with you where I work today is this JobSync, which is a company that's really focused on our very, very top of the funnel application flow. But I can tell you that having been in corporate HR as a major part of my career, having been a recruiter, having led talent acquisition teams, I look at this, I look at my role here in JobSync as from both sides of the desk, I'll say, from both the buyer perspective as well as from the vendor. And my role here at JobSync then includes kind of making sure that we've got products and services that really are aligned with what recruiting teams need today. So I'm very excited to be sharing with you what we have today to offer, and look forward to kind of getting your feedback as we go through this. I'll say to you that we won't need the whole hour today. I'll walk you through our capabilities, and I would encourage you to please interrupt as we go. There's a Q&A opportunity in the chat here to go ahead and ask your questions on the Q&A, and we will I'll try to monitor those as I'm presenting so that we can be able to kind of make sure we get your questions answered during the session. If it's not been addressed, then we'll have some Q&A at the end, okay? But definitely looking forward to kind of walking you through this. I'm going to go into present mode and take it from there. All right, so again, everybody, if you're familiar with the invitation for today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on how you can get a greater return on your advertising dollar, make your recruiting teams more efficient, and how the JobSync platform supports that overall outcome. As I mentioned, we at JobSync are primarily focused at supporting the very top of the funnel recruiting activities. We set out to solve one core problem when we launched the business, which was to really remove the friction in the apply process. We saw that the application process from job sites into your ATSs, we viewed it as we see it as a broken process. It's very disconnected, and when you have too many hops, leads to too many drops. Is really kind of the net of it. Is when you're paying to promote your jobs, what's the best way to get the greatest return for that advertising dollar? And that's what we really set out to solve, was to create an application experience that mirrored what we've become acclimated to as just citizens in the world of how things operate on the internet in general. When you're on the marketplace website, let's say when you're on Amazon and you want to make a purchase, and that purchase might be through a seller outside of Amazon. Amazon doesn't transfer you off the site where you then have to create an account and re-enter your credit card. You were able to do that whole purchase natively within the Amazon platform. And it's something similar that we try to pursue, which is how do we treat your candidates similar to how we treat prospects and consumers when they're trying to make a purchase? How do we give them the ability to commit their interest for a job that they're seeing? Again, the trend in that transaction, the purchase, they want to buy into your job, and the currency in that transaction is their resume and their data. How do we make that very easy for them to be able to commit that transaction and make it very easy for your recruiters to zero in on the right people. And that's really what we set out to solve. Was as we studied the landscape, what we kind of come to learn, and some of the benchmark data. This is actually a study done by Appcast. Some of you may know in the programmatic space. Appcast is a programmatic vendor that supports the campaigns and for thousands of customers. And what they've looked at over the last 3 years is the candidate interactions for over 100 million candidates every year for the last 3 years. And that when they look at candidates who want to apply from the application start point to the application end point, and using ad tech pixel tracking technology, they have seen regularly that the number of people who start the apply process and ultimately end up finishing it has dramatically decreased over the years, and has especially decreased for those using their mobile device, which is actually not likely a surprise as we all think about this. As we've now become more acclimated to using our handset, our mobile device, as the way we interact with the internet, and then imagine all the work it takes to be able to do the transaction to submit an application with your, trying to type all that with, on a small form factor using your thumbs. That becomes quite a challenge, and so the drop-off rate is rather significant. What the data says is that 5 out of every 100 people who want to apply on average, even worse on mobile, but we're at about a blended average of about 5 people out of every 100 who want to apply for your job are actually finishing the application process. Or said another way, 19 out of every 20 people who want to apply don't apply. They don't finish the application process. And so what we set out to do was kind of make some inroads on that. And so our goal is, if we can up the game from getting you from typically 5 applicants per every 100, what if you could get 10, right? And what would that do to your cost per application rates? If you think about in a world where you are paying for candidate clicks, let's say if you're using programmatic, if you can double the amount of applications you receive, then you can effectively cut your cost per application in half. So again, we're talking about if we can move the needle with you from getting 5 applicants per every 100 and help you move it up to 10. So that still means 90 out of every 100 interested parties still don't complete the process. But if we can help you move the needle just a slight increment, you're going to see substantial improvements in your ROI. If you look at it the other way, really what we're doing is we're creating efficiency in your recruitment marketing spend. And if you can get more clicks to actually turn into applications and make that conversion, then again, that savings becomes available dollars for you to be able to reutilize, instead of not necessarily looking for a budget reduction on your spend. But if you wanted to keep your budget flat, but now what could you do with the extra money, right? If you start thinking about if you're going to get more bang for your buck, as the expression goes, you now have the opportunity to either sponsor more jobs or increase your bid rates, or both. But at the end of the day, because you'll be getting more application rate, a higher volume of applications, you'll be able to use your dollars to be able to have a greater reach and greater spread. So it's not uncommon. We have customers who tell us all the time that they're receiving between 2 to 8 times more applications than they received previously prior to JobSync. And that's really what I want to show you today is here's what we do. The way we make this happen is that we're going to bring the application out of your applicant tracking system, and we bring it to the candidate on the job site where they're seeing the promoted opportunity. Okay, so it's as if if a candidate were on your career site, and when they would see a job, or if they were to click the apply button, your ATS knows how to create the application form for that particular job. It's that same information that we will understand through our connection into your ATS. We extract that out, and when we publish your job on the job sites, things like places like Indeed and Monster, Career Builder, Facebook, when we publish your job to the job sites, we're publishing both your content of the job and that structure of your application, essentially your data capture requirements are both published into the job site. And that's the partnerships that we have with the job sites, is to enable that. We are also, by the way, integrated with several programmatic players. So if you use a decisioning engine like an Appcast or a Recruitix, for example, to help you with managing your ad spend and your campaign, um, your ad, your bid rates and your keywords and all, then we actually can integrate in with those recruiting tools as well. One way or another, though, what happens is that the application requirements plus the content will end up at the job site, as I said, either directly through us, through our own distribution, or through programmatic. And then what happens is the candidate's experience is where they're going to apply natively within the job site for your job, and we'll bring back in both their particular information, both their profile and the application, the answers to the application questions you're asking them, and we'll ensure that you'll also have 100% accurate source tracking attribution for your reporting. So that's essentially what the JobSync solution is providing on the very top of your funnel. And what, as I've been mentioning a couple of things, right, this increased ROI for your ad spend is a significant outcome, right? You're going to get more applicants. It's very common that customers will tell us not only are they seeing a greater conversion rate, but they also tell us that they get those candidates in faster, and that they're often seeing more interesting candidates, right? As we know in recruiting, the real magic comes when you have both an interested party and you as the employer find them, you think of them as an interesting person to be considered for the role. And when someone who's both interested and interesting can come together, you can really that's where you get headway in recruiting. So what we're enabling you to do is capture the lead information from the interested person, but also capture enough data about them to be able to also understand if they're really interesting, put that data straight away into your back-end systems, and then be able to enable your recruiters to go straight to work on engaging people versus, engagement. So they engage in engagement. They are involved in the engagement work instead of the paperwork, is what I would say. So you've got candidates who are in the back-end system. The system has now sorted them for the recruiter to view, and the recruiter is able to kind of go right to work versus figuring out, how do I get this candidate into my ATS? How do I find out if they're really interesting? Do I have to phone screen them first and find out that they're not really qualified? What if you had a way to be able to get all of that information right in front of your recruiters right from the outset? And that's what we're saying is, our customers tell us regularly that they are seeing not only the higher volume of candidates received quicker, but they're also telling us that they have more candidates that they want to phone screen immediately, that they're doing routings and interviews with as well as a result. Because what's happening is candidates who would normally leave and quit out of the process due to all the friction are actually staying throughout the cycle and are completing the data requirements. Let me show you what that looks like though. So here we go. You have, here's an example of how we look on Indeed. With Indeed, we also are going to latch onto and extend what Indeed calls the Easy Apply feature. Indeed's Easy Apply is their answer towards helping customers know that they actually derived value from their ad spend on Indeed. But unfortunately, the lead information that Indeed provides is not sufficient for most employers to really understand how interesting that candidate really is. So what we get with Indeed is the ability to kind of extend the Easy Apply and turn it into a full native application. Or, so like I said, at JobSync, we think of that as the native apply feature. Without JobSync in the mix, as you may understand, if you've ever gone through the flow as pretending to be an applicant, you'll see that you search for a job, you get the list of jobs, and this is what it would look like on your mobile device. You then are presented with that Apply on Company website button, which then does the redirect and takes you outside of Indeed altogether. And this is what I was saying before, all these hops will start to equal all those drops. As you've now taken a candidate on a mobile device, they had to leave the Indeed experience. They have to wait for this page to load. They read the job description again, right? They have to scroll and find an apply button. So now that's the second apply button that they're now clicking, right? When they do that, then they are then taken to a page very often that asks them to log in. And yet most candidates won't already have a login. So then that puts them into the position to have to scour the page and find this link here at the very bottom, find print, which takes them, I don't have an account. So it takes them into a place where they get to begin the account creation process, where they have to then enter information again that they've already previously entered at Indeed, and then they get to begin the application process. And it is that series of steps that is directly responsible for the atrocious conversion rates that I was referencing. So let me show you what it looks like with JobSync in the mix. So as I mentioned, first of all, every job that JobSync will help you publish is going to be indicated as an easy apply job. So we will be able to take advantage of all the benefits that Indeed, for example, gives to that. So they Indeed will, Indeed feels strongly about the quality of a job, including how mobile friendly it is. And so the way they control for, one of the ways they control for that is when a job uses the easy apply mechanism from Indeed, they can ensure that it follows the mobile design application flow that they have built within the job site. So we'll make sure that every job is indicated with an easy apply indicator, which then Indeed will give all of those jobs higher, more preference. They get more exposure natively within the application. They Indeed will give that more visibility in the search results. And then as you can see, as the job is indicated as an easy apply, you'll have more candidate engagement. Now as a candidate, you're instead of the apply on company website, you get the apply now button. And what happens is that apply now button takes them into the Indeed easy apply as the first step. If the candidate is already logged in, then that information is pre-populated into the form, for example, as you can see here on the mobile screen here. But what happens next for the candidate is all happening inside of Indeed natively, but has been delivered to the Indeed candidate experience through the JobSync integrations. So the candidate is going to see your questions, the order of your questions, your language, your fields, your pick list values, everything that they would experience as if they came to your career site, they're now going to experience natively within the Indeed platform. Okay, so for example, your particular questions, your privacy notices, your legal language, your particular opt-ins. You want to do e-signatures. Can I get you to, can we agree that we can be in touch with you in the future on text? Anything that you might want to ask the candidate, your particular screening questions, right? You'll if you have, you may have various jobs being posted and promoted, but with different screening questions. JobSync's ability to understand dynamically and be able to publish the exact requirements for each job individually at Indeed through our automation is part of that power. You get to have your full application that's unique to every particular job that you have in your current openings. The candidate can review your legal language, they hit the apply button, and moments later their data is directly into your ATS, and the candidate has never had to leave the Indeed experience. So we've taken a very clunky number of step processes and steps and really streamlined that down to be really a very short, seamless, smooth candidate experience. But as I said, what that drives for your recruiters is a world where you're going to have your recruiters be able to get that data, including the source tracking, directly into the ATS. All the information about that candidate is immediately teed up and ready to go, so you understand directly who's more interesting in the submissions. right? You're not in a world where you have to kind of figure out how to get the data out of the Indeed inbox or an email inbox. If you have the data already in your ATS, but you now you have enough information, you're not having to open up a resume and double click on it to find out and learn more about the candidate. Everything you need structured about the candidate is now populated straight away into your system, and your recruiters are off and running. On Facebook, we do this as well. So we have a combination of both commercial sites, social sites. We do it for Google for Jobs as well. As an example, on Facebook, there's a number of things that we support with our Facebook integration. The native apply experience on Facebook is a branded opportunity where your jobs end up on both on the Jobs on Facebook marketplace, and they also end up on, they have the opportunity, if you so choose, to be on your Facebook corporate page. And then we have the ability with the way that we publish these jobs into Facebook, the jobs can also show up in the candidates notification list, as well as in their candidate newsfeed, or their consumer newsfeed, right? Basically on their own homepage, the jobs can end up there as well. And so you end up with a world on Facebook where the native apply happens here instead of a page-by-page experience. Facebook does a long scroll instead. But what happens when the candidate hits submit is that the candidate data is, again, straight away back into your ATS. You're not going to end up with the candidates ending in the Facebook Messenger, where you're forced to then have to interact with the candidates through Messenger. Instead, the candidate data will be pushed straight back into your home systems. In fact, with JobSync, you can push the data not only to your ATS, but if you have a talent community, a CRM tool, we can actually simultaneously move the data back into both your ATS and into your CRM. And if you so chose, we could also send an email to the recruiters, for example, notifying them about new applications, and really support your internal workflow, so you don't have to have recruiters logging in and checking systems. The system can alert them when there's new applications that are now available for them to go interact with. So all of that kind of back-end flow, and so you get the value of that native apply experience with all the power of the data going straight into your back-end systems, and then our ability to support your internal workflow and your communications. JobSync is integrated into a growing number of job sites around the world, as well as a 16 and counting back-end systems of ATSs and CRMs. We're on a constant pursuit to continue to add more and more job sites and more systems to the integration list. So if you're not seeing the sites you use, or the job or the ATSs that you are in your that you utilize, certainly we work with our customers to bring their systems up online into the JobSync platform. So it would not be an option, not be a problem for you to kind of let us know which sites and which systems you'd like to use. We also, for our customers who are not yet on a system that we're integrated with, we can also write all of your application data into a Google Sheet, and can do that simultaneously with all the other places that we can move your data. So again, kind of as I move through the presentation here, just to just summarize, there's a number of benefits. The typical way to think about this is, if you think about when you have good plumbing in your house, you get better outcomes. If you go to your kitchen sink and you turn on the water, does the water come out at the speed, at the flow pressure that you'd like? Is it at the temperature you need it to be? If it eventually warms up, or is it instantly at the right temperature? All of those you can have plumbing, and then you can have good plumbing. And that's the kind of conversation I would like to leave you with today, is as you think about your current plumbing and the way your data currently flows, but does that support the outcomes that you could really achieve? What if you could have a world where your data could easily flow out of your ATS and back in? It would free you up from those administrative duties of of managing job postings and pulling in candidates into your system, right? What if you were able to get that application flow faster and a higher quantity and with a higher number of interesting people in that candidate application rates? It's it's a really powerful example of how when you can have good plumbing, what you can do. Um, I'm sure there's a number of you might be thinking about our pricing. I'm very, what we would do today for you as all attendees, you'll be getting a copy of this recording and the associated presentation deck. You'll be able to also kind of, if you're interested in learning more about the solution, then we'll be able to kind of spend some time with you offline. From a general pricing model, I can tell you that JobSync adds about $1 per open job um, to your cost structure. So if you think about actually with volume, the per job price diminishes greatly. But if just for general context, if you have a kind of give you a feel for things, how economical the solution is and the power of that solution, and you'd like to learn more, then we would be happy to spend more time with you to kind of, in a no obligation way, to kind of, you know, ask your more particular detailed questions. But that's the presentation I have for you today. I really appreciate your time and your interest, and I look forward to having further conversation with you. Let's see here. I got a question in here that says, how can this be applied to independent recruiting firms? So we have JobSync from a customer base. We serve both direct employers as well as staffing firms. Any entity that is promoting jobs anywhere on the internet can leverage the JobSync platform. Our solution, it not only supports interaction with the job sites, but we are also able to create a hosted apply page, is what we refer to it as. So if you're running if you're promoting jobs on Google, for example, or if you're running passive candidate searches and you need to send, where would you send the interested recipient to? If you're recruiting passive candidates and they click through on your email, you can send them to this hosted branded page that would look like your brand, but would be powered by JobSync, and be able to have the capture information there so that you can get whatever information you'd like from your both your passive and your active candidates. You can drive all response to these branded pages, and then from there we'll funnel all the data into the correct backend systems and or send out the proper email notifications. So again, if you're interested to learn more about any of the particular details, I can tell you that we have hundreds of customers today using the solution. Some of my customers today are publishing tens of thousands of jobs through JobSync every month. What we have found is that while we're integrated into over 16 different backend systems, no two customers on any one system use the systems the same way. And this is what really drives the value that JobSync can bring, as we really work to conform to support your business processes and your data flows. So we would be happy to kind of have a further conversation with you to kind of learn more about the way that you run your business. Another question just came in about, are we currently integrated in a native way with LinkedIn? At the moment, we don't have the native apply with LinkedIn, but we do have something that we refer to as the connected apply. And the way that works is similar, that we're able to receive the easy apply data that LinkedIn provides, and we receive that into the JobSync system, and we can either pass that directly into your ATS as is, or we can create a second step in the application flow that notifies the candidate to come and provide the additional information for your application. And then that combined data package is what we then can push into your ATS. So effectively, we can be integrated with any job site you have in your list, as long as it can provide the easy apply data. We can capture that and extend that, or easily get the easy apply data for all of your sites straight away into your ATS. And again, if you're interested in learning more, I know that could be a little bit of a confusing reply. So hopefully that's, but if that begins to help you understand the difference between what we talk about, the native apply versus the connected apply, we'd be happy to spend more time on that. I got another question just came in. Are we currently uploading from LinkedIn to Indeed? I'm not sure that I understand the exact nature of that question. Any job that JobSync will publish to Indeed, again, we either publish the jobs directly through our distribution, or if you're using a programmatic vendor like an Appcast or a Recruitix, then your jobs will end up on Indeed, and your candidates will have the native apply experience within the Indeed. Well, Indeed is one of the partners we have that we are directly integrated with for the native apply. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, on the screen, I'll publish again. I'll put it back up on the share. But feel free to email me with any particular questions you may have afterwards. There will be, as I mentioned, a recording sent out after the call, probably within the next 48 hours, so that you can, if you're interested in doing any follow-ups, there'll be a link to how to do so in that recording email as well. And the link to the recording will contain the information about how to follow up if you want to learn more about JobSync. So there's my email, my contact information. Feel free to reach out or hit me up on LinkedIn if you'd like to talk more there as well. Again, appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. Wish you all a great day.